And Rachel Pappas is 3rd through 5th grade tag at Branson and Clean Scale.
Hey, Erin, you're gonna have to hold on because this isn't working for some reason.
And the live feed is not working.
So a joke.
A brain teaser.
What did the green grapes say to the purple grapes?
What?
Breathe.
Oh,
Took a minute.
it's a slow burn.
I don't have any fun jokes.
Oh, there it goes.
Why don't you come tell me a riddle? Or can you give me some reminders of riddles we've done before?
Okay.
Oh, we're running. We're running now.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to go through the different attributes of your gifted children, and probably they will seem very familiar to you. This first one that we're going to talk about is curiosity, and it's probably to the point where you've told your child, please stop asking me questions. You can raise your hand if that's... They are very curious, and that's good. I understand it can get annoying. So you might suggest like they could come up with a wonder notebook and kind of keep track of the questions that they have in their journal so that they can look up information later on things they're interested in. Many gifted children do prefer to speak and talk and have conversations with adults, and that's just because their interests may align more with someone who's a bit more mature, and that's okay, but that's just part of gifted children being asynchronous, which is a word we're probably a little more familiar with, thanks to COVID. So their development, mentally, emotionally, even physically, they are not all aligned with their age, and that includes interests. They obviously do have their own sense of humor, and sometimes other kids don't get their humor, and that's another great reason why TAG is so wonderful, because they hopefully are meeting friends that think like they do and can understand their sense of humor. They're also inventors and designers. They love to create, and they're very inquisitive, like we talked about earlier, and the collision of those two make them excellent inventors. And now we have a short video. Oh, we probably should get some audio. Pause, please. We forgot an audio cable, perhaps.
Is mine gonna work? Does that work?
No, because it's
With
like it's
that one?
connecting to the speaker. I know, yeah, I don't know. It's okay, I can recap.
It's okay, it is
set
not
out to
that
explore the solar
important to see
system.
it. But this is from young Sheldon, so some of you may have seen this, but he's in the classroom, and this man comes in from NASA, and he's talking about, and young Sheldon questions him as to why these, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm the only one who watched the video, apparently.
No, it's just been a year.
Why the capsules are landing in the water. Why are we not actually landing so you can reuse the capsules? And this guy's like, it's not that simple. Math is really hard. And Sheldon's like, I can do it. So it's just that idea of sometimes, yes, your child, they do know a lot. And sometimes they might say things that you're like, that can't be right. And sometimes they might actually be correct. But they challenge adults. I'm sure they challenge you. They challenge their teachers. And that's just part of being a TAG kid. So in TAG, we talk about how to respectfully disagree with someone or talk to someone if they feel like they were given wrong information, because that does happen sometimes in classes, right? Teachers make mistakes, I make mistakes, like with this video when I forgot the audio cable. And so if they learn how to respectfully talk to their teacher or other students when they feel like that's not the right information, that's going to help them be a better citizen. And they're also very, very self-critical, and we're going to touch on this a little bit more when we get into the slide on perfectionism. But here's something to think about. Please work really hard. Parents, sometimes unintentionally, you might reinforce equating self-worth with achievement by saying simple things like, oh, I see that you got a 95 on that spelling test. What happened to the other 5 words? Like, just saying something like that might make them think, well, now they're equating their value of who they are as a person did they make a perfect score of 100? You can support your child by focusing first on content. Children might identify one thing to improve upon on an assignment. So if you say, what do you feel like you could improve upon this next time that you take your spelling test? And that focuses on the content rather than the score that they got. And now we have Miss Rachel Pappas.
Hello. So this is just a couple activities and things that we recommend for gifted kids to kind of help challenge them and help them grow. So the first one is to problem solve. So we are looking to help them solve problems that are more abstract. So those questions that don't necessarily have a yes or no answer. And this will be very frustrating to them. They're gonna go, but what was the right answer? And sometimes there's not. And so giving them those challenging problems, like the fuzzy problems, is really what we strive to do in TAG. We challenge them to think in different ways. So to use creative thinking, critical or analytical thinking, and then just taking that further and having them identify problems, gather information, create an opinion, argue from multiple sources, analyze and evaluate information, and then draw conclusions based on evidence, and then how they can share and communicate that with peers. So that leads us to gifted kids need their peers. And so the kind of question is, what do we mean when we say peers? So we really love TAG because it gets those kids together who are very similar, and it helps them kind of build with each other. So we pair them with academic peers, and this gives them an opportunity to work with people who have similar interests and abilities. And then GT learners actually show the most growth when they are grouped with similar ability students. And so this kind of gives them an opportunity to learn from each other. Challenge, this is a fun one, because a big thing we try to teach in TAG is how to fail and how to be challenged without getting upset or having a meltdown because something is hard. So that's a big skill we teach, is just, hey, if something's hard, keep pushing through, and how to respond to that. And especially building perseverance and not giving up when something takes a little bit longer than normal to solve. And then that kind of falls into freedom to fail. Mistakes are important. So mistakes help you grow. And a lot of times for TAG kids, mistakes are the end of the world. And so we teach them, this is just an opportunity to help you grow. And I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, if you make 100 on everything I'm giving you, I'm not giving you hard enough stuff. So I always try to push that, and I know all the other TAG teachers do too, just giving them a safe space to fail and learn that that's okay and how you can grow from that. And then to see learning as a process, not a checklist. So sometimes with TAG kids, you'll see they just want to go, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, I'm done turning in my assignment, I'm done. So teaching them, hey, we're going through all these steps for a reason. It's not a race. You are building a growth mindset, and you're pushing through, and you're learning something in each step. And then understanding of specific needs. So gifted kids need understanding that they're not going to be exceptional in every aspect and in everything we do. And again, that kind of goes back to what I say to my kids, you're not going to make 100 on everything I give you. And if you do, then you're not, that's on me, I need to be giving you harder stuff. So just an understanding that there is still room for growth. Yes, they're academically successful in a lot of ways, but they're still kids, and they're still growing. Okay, so kind of going off of that, we use something called depth and complexity. And this kind of is a form of questioning that we use to help students go beyond the surface understanding of a text. So basically, each one of these symbols stands for a type of questioning, and we will create questions about our novel or about an assignment, and we usually try to associate one of these symbols with it. And that's kind of a way for the kids to look at it and say, oh, this is what I need to be thinking about when I look at this question. And so it helps students get deeper into a topic, which is depth, and then understand that concept with greater complexity. So really this is just the kind of questioning we use. There's a bunch of great studies out there on this if you want to research it a little bit more, but I'm not gonna go over every symbol with y'all, but yeah, okay. Modes of thinking, so, let me flip that. Okay, so we want students to be utilizing both modes of thinking. So there's the divergent thinking, which is using more of your imagination and kind of taking something and creating, like kind of pushing out. And then convergent thinking, which is using logic. So it's kind of like you're taking information in. So that's more like your critical thinking, analyzing information. So we push both kinds of thinking, essentially. This is me. Sorry, gotta flip the page. Okay, coping with perfectionism. Does that sound familiar, perfectionism? So we are pushing and tag learning to see failure as an opportunity for growth. We really want the kids to kind of abandon that all or nothing mentality. Like, I made 100 and I'm great, or I made a 99 and I missed one, I'm a failure because I missed it. So we're trying to embrace celebration of the effort that was put into the projects and the assignments. So kind of understanding, like, you learned something through this whole process. You know, it wasn't perfect at the end, but very few things in life are perfect. And that's okay. It is okay to make a mistake. And again, emphasizing the effort and the process, not the end result. So kind of looking at it as a journey and saying, hey, like, you did this. You worked hard on every step of this. Like, that's awesome. And then, again, learning the difference between high achievement and perfectionism. That kind of explains itself. And then learning to set small goals and celebrate. So as you go through the journey, setting small goals like, okay, you passed this point, good job. You passed this next marker. So, and celebrating each one of those rather than the end goal. And then, Jody Lynn.
All right, so now I'm going to talk about what we do when students do end up shutting down or coming to a rough spot where they kind of hit a wall over the issue of perfectionism. So sometimes when students are first challenged in a way that they haven't been challenged in the classroom or in the classroom, in the regular classroom, maybe they hit a particular math concept or something like that, excuse me, I'm sorry, gives them a little bit of a challenge. The tendency can be to stop taking risks, to pull back a little bit, and then those students end up underachieving. And that's easy to not necessarily notice, because a lot of times these kids are so used to high achievement and all of the different types of coping skills kids have in the classroom that they can kind of fly under the radar. So as parents, that's something important to watch for. Sometimes they become disillusioned when they feel like their identity is tied up with being smart. Running into a challenge doesn't mean that the child is no longer smart. It just means they've hit a piece of material or an academic level that's provided them a little bit of a challenge, and when they work through it, they can develop resilience and not totally tie their identity to being smart. So what things that we can do as parents and teachers to help kind of keep this underachievement at bay. First of all, being mindful. I think in an earlier slide we mentioned be careful not to say, oh, you're smart. Say you've worked hard, you persevered, you pressed through that challenge, you used your thinking skills. Something where it ties it to the process and to something the child has a little bit of ownership and a little bit of power over, so that they see themselves as a capable student, a capable person that can continue working. We want to develop resilience when they're young, especially because middle school and high school, sometimes if it's the later grades where they hit that, they're so used to just coasting. We don't want them to hit that level and have an identity crisis rather than just an academic, a slight academic challenge. All right, These are some parent resources if you want to take a photograph of this. This QR code takes you to an Amazon wish list where you can take a look at where you can find it to order. You could use your own account to order for yourself. That's a teacher's Amazon list that's been put together so that you can see some resources you can have at home that help to battle perfectionism.
On that list, don't click add to cart because it will remove it from the list.
Yes, please don't
So
get
you
that.
can look at it.
Can you say that for the live?
Yes, so on, when you go, would you go back to that slide?
Yeah.
Go back to that slide so we can see. For the live feed, the QR code on here, we don't order from the list. That's just for you guys to see what it is. Because if you hit add to cart, it'll take it off the list and other people won't be able to see it.
Thank you.
Okay, this is something that is very well known to teachers, maybe a little bit a new concept for most parents, but I'm going to kind of explain this in a way that I think it'll make a lot of sense to you. Tier 1 is in the middle. A lot of times this is viewed as a pyramid or a triangle with Tier 1 at the bottom and Tier 2 and 3 at the top. This has been turned on its side and goes in both directions because here in the middle, Tier 1, that is basically core curriculum in the classroom, what every student is getting in the classroom. Tier 2 on either end, students who quickly master the Tier 1 material may need a little bit of extension. Tier 2 students that are maybe struggling, need an extra repetition, might need an extra small group with their teacher to fill some gaps. So Tier 2 is the core curriculum and a little bit more. Usually those are both done by the classroom teacher through small groups and things like that. When you get to the opposite ends of Tier 3, when students have significant gaps, need more repetition to master material, that would be an interventionist, like a math specialist or reading specialist. But on the opposite end, there is also intervention that's needed when students are moving at a much faster pace than their peers and need something even more than that. That is that small group that would be in the pull-out program, Tiny Tag for K through 2, grades 3 through 5, pull-out tag, which is what you guys are doing and why you guys are here. So that is highlighted for us tonight because every student gets what they need in a school, in a public school, and it's based on this model where it's core curriculum. In the Tier 2, we like to call it core and more. Tier 3 is core and more and more. So these things are provided, like I said, by the classroom teacher, but that Tier 3 is the intervention pull out, which is what our tag is. Okay, go ahead and skip that one. All right, and then Amy is going to come and talk to us about the overarching tag program for the district.
So our services in Burleson ISD consist of the K through 2 Tiny Tag. And then in 3, 4th, and 5th grade, you'll have the pull out where they go once a week with their GT teacher. And then in middle school, you'll have the opportunity to have the honors classes and the GT electives. Then in high school, it's the pre-AP classes and the AP classes. And then for Tiny Tag curriculum, the fall semester, which is what we're doing right now, is the thinking skills, and that's our primary education thinking skills lessons. I forgot the X was back here. Sorry. Anyways, and so we're doing thinking skills, the convergent and the divergent thinking that Ms. Pappas was telling us about. And we have lessons with, we have certain characters, Dudley the detective, Sybil the scientist, Isabel the inventor, and other characters. And we're just doing those thinking skills to help them out and know how to do that. And then the guided inquiry is our second semester in spring. We're going to be doing a project from the Texas Performance Standard Project, which will get them ready for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and start learning how to do their research skills. That's right. All right, so 3rd through 5th grade pull-out tag curriculum for this year.
Every year we have universal themes. We are on a 3-year rotation, and so they'll have a different universal theme every year if they start in 3rd grade that they're in pull-out tag. A universal theme is a big idea. It connects across disciplines. I think that kids get tired of us because we're like, we'll be in math, and they're like, oh, it's a system. Our theme for this year is system. And then we'll be in science or learning about science, and they're like, oh, an ecosystem. Okay, so it connects across, and the ideas connect across. And that increases the depth and complexity that we look at things. Okay. All right, systems. So our big ideas this year should be familiar to most of our 3rd through 5th because they're up on our walls. They have lots of cool words in them. Systems are composed of parts and subsystems. They have roles and functions. They cooperate together for a specific purpose. Systems are developed out of a need for order and interaction. Systems are governed by rules that provide and maintain order. Systems may be interdependent and form symbiotic relationships. Removing or altering may improve or impair a system functionality or effectiveness. So we apply these to everything. If we're learning Greek and Latin roots, that we're talking about language systems. If we're talking about biomes, it's ecosystems. And all of these can be applied to our content. Okay, so we are studying number systems in math. Your kid may have come home writing their numbers differently recently, like they're in Egypt. We apologize, but not really. So we've been learning Egyptian number system, and we'll go through a lot of different ancient cultures and learn about their number systems, changing the bases of those numbers. Babylonian is base 60, so y'all start figuring that out. It's coming. Literature, we are doing the City of Ember right now, and there's a lot of systems that are breaking down actually in the City of Ember. And then in the spring, they'll be working on folktales, and we do group discussions throughout the year, Socratic seminars. We do different talks and circles and let them learn how to speak to one another, how to disagree with each other, and defend their thinking as well. And then through the year, their large project is going to have to do with creating a civilization. So everything we're talking about now is leading to this creation that you'll get to see in the spring at Tag Showcase of their own civilization. Okay, and so that's launching next week when we tell them, I think. And then independent research, we follow the inquiry design process, and they've already started with the open portion of that through your biomes breakouts. Kids? Yes. Escape rooms? No. Locks? Okay. And that's the open piece, and then we'll move into immerse, then they'll start exploring more about a specific biome and what they're really truly interested in. Then they're gonna write their own questions, then they're gathering all of their resources and their information, taking notes, that's the biggest piece. Then they create a product, share the product, evaluate the product, and that's all gonna happen in the next 8 weeks for that. So. All right, oh, I just said that. Cool. Okay, spring showcase. You're gonna get tired. Okay, so it's May 6th through 9th. It's all from 6 to 7 at the Game Development and Design School. The next slide is gonna show you who's when where. Okay, so that's a lot. But there's two, is there just one slide for this? Yes. Notice some schools are on different days. They're divided by number of kids and things. Everybody good? 6 to 7. And they'll come a little bit early to set up because this one does have lots of parts that come with it. Not just one thing. All right, we also do Saturday Inspire camps twice throughout the year. It's all 3rd through 5th pull-out tag students that this is offered for. They are free. Yes, we didn't change it. No. October 28th is the first one coming up, and then in February on the 24th. You'll notice different grade levels are at different times throughout the day. And this first sign up for that is coming out next Thursday for the October date.
We'll have flyers that go out.
And there'll be flyers that go out and what's offered. Yeah, oh, I'm there, yeah. Okay, so they have 4 areas that they can choose to sign up in. And there's 15 spots in each class, if that makes sense. So there's 4 classes. Art, engineering design, builder's workshop, and then textile creation. So builder's engineering design is solving, art is art, okay? Like actually physically creating art. Engineering design is solving a problem through engineering and creating a design for that. Builder's workshop is actually going to be using wood, hammers, nails, things. Okay? And then textile creations is
Embroidery.
thank you.
Cross stitching.
That's not mine. I'm art.
Cross stitching.
So that's coming next week. The sign up for that, not the camp. Field trips. Okay, the first field trip is October 24th and 26th. The schools and dates that each school is going are right down here. We are going around Burleson to learn about
Systems.
Thank you. In different places around Burleson. We don't have all of those places nailed down yet. We're still communicating with the city and different things to get exact locations. But we will be going and we're going to look at all those subsystems that make the big city of Burleson system function. And we'll have lunch at a park. And then they will be gone most of the day. We'll leave around 8:45 and come back at 2. Oh, do we need to say? Oh, I didn't put it on here. So chaperones will be going on this field trip, but it's going to be 1 chaperone for every 3 students. So your tag teacher will reach out, and if there's more chaperones willing, then there'll be a drawing for who will go and those kinds of things. All right, second field trip is like a sort of field trip. We're going to hear a presentation by Rambling Rita, the storyteller, on April 4th. This one is $6 to pay Rambling Rita and for buses on this one. We'll leave it at 9:45 and we'll leave it at 9, I'm sorry, and get back at 11 that day. There will be no chaperones for this trip because we are going from their campus to Game Development and Design School, which is a Burleson ISD campus, so safety is already there, the safety teams are aware, all of those things. Like we're just transferring to another school, so we'll all be together. The kids will be going to that. And the cost is $6. Right. Okay. Y'all got this flyer. There are 3 events happening. I hope that you've seen this flyer. The next event is October 18th and then February 7th. And there's different things happening at each event for the tag events. Just click all of them. All right, so as a parent, if you are looking for different ideas, I need my notes for this. Sorry. Look how fast we went. Okay, the NAGC has publications for parents, like if your kid is struggling with something specific, they have different publications and articles. They have the Gifted Children's Bill of Rights, They have a resources directory, and they have toy lists if you need to know what to get them for Christmas. Mensa for Kids has lots of different information on it relating to gifted students. You can also join Mensa. There's a bunch of steps to do that, and if you are interested in looking into that. Renzulli Center for Creativity, again, with lots of resources there. And the Texas Association for the Gifted and Talented has a parent group that you can join. And then there's lots of, like, I guess it's like chat rooms or forums, and chat rooms is not the right word, forums, and things where parents discuss and different resources there. And then Hoagie's Gifted has more information and fun things on it. So that's just the here's the college. Okay, thank you for coming tonight. That's everything. If you need, this is our email addresses, how they're written, and of course they're all at bisdmail.net. But I think that's everything.
Okay.
If you have questions, we can take questions for just a minute or two. Does anybody have any questions?
I would just like to know numbers, Steve. Like, how big is GT in the elementary schools? How many kids are there?
Can you,
Is it 2-9?
can you repeat the questions in the live?
Oh, okay, so the question was how many students, 3rd through 5th? Is that okay? I know those numbers. Okay, 3rd through 5th is, was it it was 200 and, who remembers, we counted yesterday. Like,
For all campus or per campus?
all campuses.
It's probably a little less than 200.
I think it's around 280.
And you don't know tiny tag?
3rd through 5th, tiny tag. Amy, add up real fast how many kids you have.
I'm adding 7. So we're at 50 and then whatever.
How many tiny tag do you have? Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's a lot to ask on the spot.
I know, right?
No, just your two.
I hear what you're saying. I think I like 18. Why do we need an exact number?
70.
Just curious. Just
70.
curious how big the program is.
Oh, okay.
K through 2 is 70-ish. So, any other questions? All right, guys, thank you for, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I have he's on the gray and he's on different talented, but I guess as well have a kid on first grade. He was tested last year. There is a way for parents as well just to be, writing down and say, hey, can be my kid be tested for some reason, or do we need to weigh a referral for the teacher? How it works?
Okay, so referral. She's asking about how do you refer for testing if you want to have a child that's not in the program and you want them tested. So referral window opens December 1st. And it stays open till January.
Beginning of January.
I mean, it's a pretty big window. That paperwork is available on the district website as of December 1st. It opens. And so as the parent, if you want them tested, you go in and do the referral paperwork. That gives us permission to test them, and we'll move on from there. You can tell their teacher that you referred them, but we have to have parent permission to test, and so that's something that kind of gets confused. Like a teacher can say it, but we still can't do anything without parent permission.
Even if a teacher refers.
Are they retested every year? Or?
The ones already in the program? No. So the way, okay, so a student in the program who's still being successful in gen ed, right, and is in the program, stays in the program. There are some instances where if they're not being successful in their gen ed classroom, in their normal school, that they can be furloughed, and so it's not out. It's take a break from for a period of time until their grades are where they need to be and they're getting their classroom things taken care of. There's lots of different caveats with that. It's specific to the student needs, depending on that. After that time, if they're meeting the requirements set by the furlough committee, then they come back to tag and they're back in without retesting. If they stay on furlough for a year, like they're still trying and they just can't get what they need or the grades they need in the classroom, then they would exit at that time and then could be retested at some point. But that is very rare, very, very rare. But those processes are there. Yes, ma'am.
So when they meet together, is it like kindergarten and then first and second, or do they all like join together like first and second grade and then third and fifth through fifth grade?
It depends on the campus and the student numbers at the campus. So if you have one kindergartner, you're probably going to put them with first grade because they need those peers. You can't have this one kiddo by themselves. So it kind of depends on the campus, the needs of that campus. Now our larger kiddos, the older kiddos, some campuses have third and fourth combined and with fifth separated. I mean, I've had to combine fourth and fifth before. It depends on those numbers. And some campuses have larger numbers, and so they have a split grade level that comes like 2 different days, like group A on this day, group B on this day, if there's too many for one class.
How big is the class? Is it usually like?
At any class?
Yes.
So it depends on the grade. Like you may have 8 third graders, but you may have 19 fifth graders. So every year there's flexibility in how we pull and when we pull, if that makes
Sometimes
sense.
it's been as low as 3 in a class, and
And sometimes like 4th grade has 5 and the other 2 have 20, and so it just depends on the year. Yeah.
What about whenever we go to middle school?
When you go to middle school? So middle school is different. They offer honors classes, and so we normally encourage our tag kiddos to follow the AP pathways, which includes honors classes in their main core subject areas. In 6th grade, right now, they have 2 math blocks, and so they only get 1 elective, and that elective for most students who want to do a fine arts is their fine arts, because if you want to play an instrument, you need to start in 6th grade, or if you want to be in the choir, you start in 6th grade. But there is a GT elective offered as that 1 elective. A lot of our tag kids that are interested in the GT elective take it in 7th grade, not in 6th grade, if that helps, but it's there. And that GT elective is focused on guided inquiry design and that process of research, which prepares them for that AP research class in high school. Any other questions? All right, thank you all again for coming tonight, and if you have any questions, you can find your specialist or you can email.